Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of ordered inputs and lockboxes. We just got done with a tutorial where I explained how to set up an ordered input device, and I'm going to fly over here and show you one of the other things I wanted to talk about, which was just a general purpose lockbox. So for those of you who played my wizard level and went through the lockbox to get that, you might recognize this. What it is I have set up a combination lock of sorts. So what you can do is you can move side to side and select which numbers you want to put in, and when you hit the correct button you press X to make a selection, or you press circle to reset it back to default. Okay, and in this one I had it set up for the in my lockbox the code was 9371, so when I hit X it played that noise, which meant it's correct, and circle reset the code back to 000. Okay, so I'm gonna go out of preview mode and show you a little bit what we're working with. For those of you who have checked out my my menu tutorial, this is pretty related to that. I use a selector to cycle through different things. So here I just have the digits 0 through 9 on a piece of hologram material. If I start hiding layers backwards, you can see 8 and then 9 hidden back there. So I have each of those wires from the selector will wire to its own number. And so we have 0 as the top one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So each of the digits is represented by a state on the selector. And then I use the directional combiner and other inputs and whatnot to cycle through the selector state. Check out my other tutorials if you're interested in a little bit more on that. And then I have the same exact setup for each of the 4 digits 0 through 9, each of the setups here. And I also have a little indicator here to tell us which of the number sets we're looking with, and that's just controlled similarly by another 4-input selector. Okay, so the system is pretty straightforward. There's just a lot of wires because there's a lot of numbers going on. Okay, so in order to recognize the correct button sequence, I just use a simple AND gate. So this AND gate has been placed on the controlinator. I have the controlinator stuck right on the checkpoint, and the player automatically enters this when they come in, and their poppet has been controlled, or their poppet controls have been locked out. So basically they come in and they're stuck in there, and I also have a movie camera that takes over, and so the only thing they can do is they enter the code. Okay, and then on like I said, I have an AND gate set up here and it has 5 conditions. So there are 4 numbers that need to be correct, and the player needs to have hit the X button. So if we go up here and we follow the X down, we'll see that that's the 5th condition on our AND gate. The other conditions are wired into the other things. We'll talk about that in a second. So when you hit the right button combination, it will trigger that counter, which is acting as a permanent switch. Now to show you real quick how we can wire up a new combination. So let's say I wanted to make the combination of 4. That'd be the 5th wire down. So I just take this wire and I drag it all the way over and wire that up as the first condition in our AND gate. Okay, and then so I don't confuse myself, I'm just going to make the other 3 1s. So that's our second wire from each of these selectors. So my combination is going to be 4 1 1 1 4 1 1 1. Okay, and so I'll just wire this up, and again we have 0 as our first input state. That's why I'm grabbing the second wire from each of these. Now, this is a pretty straightforward example of how you can make one of these kind of lock boxes on your own. You're free to do with whatever method you would like. I'm just showing you some of the options that we have here. Okay, so I'm just going to manually set this to the 5th one, which will be 4, and then set these other ones to the second selector state, which will correspond to 1 1 and 1. Okay, so now if I set those up and then hover down and look at my AND gate, we'll see that the 4 conditions on the AND gate are set up, so I just need to hit X on the controlinator for it to work. Okay, and you'll see that it does match up with 4 1 1 1. Okay, so I'll just reset these selectors back to their default, and I'll actually go and enter the code and press the button and show you that it'll correctly recognize that I've hit the new combination that I've given it. Okay, so we'll go to preview, drop into the level here. So we want 4 1 1 1, hit X, and when it plays that sound, then that means we've entered the correct code. And I have a movie camera, so it locks in place there, so I am going to have to rewind. But what that did is that triggered this permanent switch over here. Okay, that counter, that permanent switch. So you could wire that to whatever you want. You could wire it to a level link, you could wire it to a level key. You can actually wire to keys now, so that's kind of cool. And then lastly, to reset it, I just hardwire the circle button into the selector override, the first input on the selector override. So that'll reset everything back to 0. Okay, so really simple resets on this, which is nice when we use selectors. Okay, so that's the basic idea of the lockbox. And I put this, I'm going to put this as well as this in the level that I had already set copyable as data transfer. So if you want this stuff, you can copy it and check it out. Okay, so that's it. Hope you guys learned something. Take care and see you next time. Bye.